Goleta Beach was formed by the military in the early 1940s as a part of World War II. Santa Barbara Airport was a military air base at that time.
The Marines brought in fill soil and poured it in the Goleta Bay.
They decided to dump every bit of rubble and dirt, fill dirt that you could think of on the beach there. And they built that thing up from absolutely nothing.
I think people need to realize the fact that that used to be a natural sand spit. It used to be one big open beach area.
It's never historically permanent solid ground. It was a seasonal sand spit that would wash out every time heavy rains filled the Goleta Slough.
You know, we all appreciate it's a great recreational resource, but it really wasn't ever meant to be there. Nature will always take back what was the natural state, and that's what we're seeing right now.
The ocean's been rising even faster in recent years with global climate change, and that has accelerated the rate of erosion of this landform.
Starting in about 1998, there was a series of El Niños, what we call El Niños. They're tropical storms that come with really high tides and southwesterly wind swells that start attacking the beaches.
And what happened is the beach naturally erodes during the winter, comes back in the summer, but the beach had eroded a little bit further than normal, and we actually started losing some of that turf, some of that lawn area.
I guess it was Executive Director Jennifer Briggs goes down there, and it's like late in the year, and they go down there first thing in the morning, like 10 o'clock. She gets a call, oh, the beach is eroding. And so she goes and orders this massive seawall to be put on the beach. All these boulders, no EIR, didn't even call the county supervisors.
The county then threw those rocks down because it says we do not want to lose any more turf. And so a lot of the folks feel that that turf is more important than the sandy beach.
But if she would have just gone and had a cup of coffee and come back in a couple hours, the tide would have receded and the problem would not have been there anymore.
As a student, we saw tractors on the beach, and it's, you run down there and you say, what is going on down at Goleta Beach? Why are there tractors on the beach? It's something pretty unnatural.
It was announced that the Supervisor Rose would appoint a panel of, I can't remember, 18 people, I think, to really look at all the issues related to a long-term strategy for solving the problem of erosion at Goleta Beach.
There was pretty much a split between the group. Out of that split came two projects that we're now reviewing in much more detail.
It seemed to a bunch of us that we were given pretty good information and that it seemed like a pretty logical choice to choose something like a permeable groin or extending the headlands or doing something to increase the amount of sand that would get trapped onto the beach, as well as shoring up the rock revetments that were there so that we could have a long-term solution to this. But there were people on the panel who were opposed to anything that resembled a hard solution. The revetment that we have now that's buried, that I think should be continued and extended, is for those extreme, dramatic, seasonal events to protect the park amenities from a one-time occurrence.
The classes that I've taken here at UCSB, coastal processes courses and whatnot, they teach us that hard structures create an unnatural process and you're gonna lose sand in front of them.
Well, I was slightly confused as far as kind of this working group process. If there were all these experts coming in talking about the science behind this, why was it so hard to come to a consensus?
Well, a lot of the interest on the Goleta Beach Working Group, were basically to protect the park, and in their minds a lot of that park was the turf area, and so they weren't willing to budge at all. I mean, when it came down to it, after talking about rock revetments really maybe not the best solution, hard structures aren't necessarily the best solution, there's our alternatives to putting rocks on the beach. you know, a lot of the group members were ready just to throw the rocks back on the beach.
The proponents who wanted to see a managed retreat project move forward felt that Mother Nature should be allowed to do her thing, that natural processes should occur along the coast wherever possible. The managed retreat attempts to keep the same amount of everything there. It just relocates them and reconfigures the park to allow those to remain. The element of that project that your permeable groin proponents did not like was the fact that you were going to be losing the grassy lawn area where you see a lot of people go to the beach.
We've got one little park in Goleta. We got one place where people can drive in, get out your cooler and your kids and grandma and have a picnic at the beach. I don't see how protecting that with our original request, which was the rock revetment, which we have now softened on greatly and are supporting the permeable groin. I just don't see how that can be a bad thing.
The county's project has a timeline, and they're looking at 20 years out, which we feel is very short-sighted, given that we need to be looking closer to 75 or 100 years in the future to make sure the beach and the natural resources are protected for future generations.
The 20-year horizon for looking at a plan for this has nothing to do with science. It has everything to do with government and community. It has to do with people getting together and planning how are we going to address issues without having to have knee-jerk reactions in the middle of the night because there's a storm and, you know, whoever's in charge that day makes a decision.
Certainly, we do not want to lose Goleta Beach. You know, we want to preserve all the recreation out of Goleta Beach as best as possible, but, you know, again, we want that sandy beach experience. I mean, why do people come to Goleta Beach anyways? They come to Goleta Beach to see the beach. I mean, what would be the point of having Goleta Beach County Park if there was no beach there, you know, 10 years from now? And so, you know, if we have that short-sighted vision, we will potentially lose the beach, and I think a lot of people will be feeling, you know, pretty awful that they let that happen. The managed retreat sort of term really incites a lot of emotion to sort of the folks that really want to protect the grassy area. Managed retreat, we're going to lose our beach, we're going to lose our park. Well, I would rather, you know, think of it in Surfriders terms as more as a park reconfiguration. We can reconfigure the park, preserve all the parking spaces, protect every square inch of lawn area, and have a sandy beach at the same time.
We have built a city by the coast. We have built a city by the sea. Do we want to have families and people who work here and people who visit here have a good opportunity to come out of the city and enjoy nature such as it is there, even if it's not perfectly pristine, or not? We obviously feel very strongly that it's okay for people to create recreational parks and opportunities in good coastline locations, and to do it with the utmost respect to the environment and with the utmost respect to good design and smart practices, so that you don't have to keep spending money on it for 100 years. Absolutely, do a good job, but the baseline of the philosophy is that, yeah, it's there for people.